Hi, and welcome back to my OpenTK 2D game engine / framework series. This is part 7. I want to apologize for the length of my videos. Going forward, I'm going to try to find better stopping points. In this episode, we're going to write a shader that accepts a position, a texture, position, a texture coordinate, and then also a color. And then we're also going to make sure that we are thoroughly testing this by making sure we can push another layout into our buffer layout. So let's recap really quick what we did in the last episode. We created a vertex buffer object, we created a vertex array object, an index buffer object, we created a buffer layout, and we had the ability to push these buffers to a vertex buffer, or vertex buffers to a vertex array, and we were able to see exactly what we saw. We also created a display manager and centered this window. Let's start by adding a new texture. Go into GameEngine.tk, Resources, Shaders, and go ahead and just copy the texture one, hit Control-C, and then Control-V. And then we'll rename this to texture with color. Oh, we don't want a space in there. Texture with color.glsl. So let's take a look at what we have so far. We have the A position and the text chord. This will currently work if we were to update our buffer abstraction class here, but we're going to, again, make a copy of this file because it's good to have multiple implementations for us to go back and reference. So go ahead and let's do that. Follow these instructions. Control A to highlight everything. Hit Control C. In implementations, add a new class. And we will call it texture with colors. Go ahead and hit Control A or select all. Delete what's in here. And then paste. Control V. And then go up and rename it the name of the class. I like to copy paste. Saves time. Alright. And then for the last step, we go into program and then update buffer abstraction and replace it with texture with colors. Let's go into our texture with colors and update the shaders. That way it's using texture with color. And let's run this to make sure we did everything correctly. And we did. So now in our texture with color, I'm going to close some of these out here. With our texture with color.glsl, we simply need to give it a vec3 for the color. So we can do that by adding another layout location. Location equals 2. It'll be an in vec3. We'll do a color. And then we also need to pass this into the fragment shader as well. So we need to also create an out vec. Actually, it'll be a vec4 for color. We'll just append the 1 to it. We'll just pass in a vec3, and then we'll have the shader take care of the rest. So now we need to set what color is. So color, we want to indent this. So color equals vec4 a color.rgb, and then we'll do 1.0 for the alpha. Text chord stays the same, position stays the same, we don't need to change anything there. And then we need to accept the vec4 as an invec, so it's in vec4 color, because we're setting the color, we're passing in the 3 vectors, adding the 1 for alpha, setting the value of out variable of vec4 to color, and in of vec4. And then the way that we can apply this color with the texture is we just simply multiply it, because this texture is returning a single color based on the texture sampler, and we just multiply it by the color. Go ahead and save that. And then now let's go back into our texture with color.cs and let's add. We're going to remove this comment because that's a little misleading. So right here we have our positions, X, Y, and Z, and then we have our texture coordinates of X and Y in the where your value is only between 0 and 1, 1. There is no negative. And then now we want to add color to this. So let's make the first one red, so 1.0f, 0.0f, and then 0.0f. And let's make, also got to put a comma at the end of this. And then let's make the next one green, so 0.0f, 1.0f, 0.0f. Let's make this bottom left one blue, so we'll do 0.0f, 0.0f, 1.0f, and then let's make the last one white. So 1.0f, 1.0f, and 1.0f. So white is going to just technically mean no color. So it's just going to display as the color of the texture. And then now that we've abstracted out our buffers, we don't have to manually type any of that all out anymore. We can just simply add, update our vertex layout or a buffer layout by simply pushing three more floats. So we'll do layout.add, so type float, and then 3. And then we're already passing in the vertex data, the indices, none of that changes. We've just updated our buffer layout. But before we do that, there was a mistake in texture with color.glsl here. We actually technically need to have 2 variables. So we have to have both a vector, vec3 for the input and 1 for the output. These are the same. We cannot do that. So let's change this to output color. So we'll do output color, and then simply set the output color to equal the texture coordinate pixel times the color that we're passing in. And then there we go. So now we're able to apply this. So one thing that a lot of, I know monogame allows you to do is you have to pass in a color that's going to be applied. So if you do color.white, that simply means nothing's going to change. So let's try changing these all to color.white, or the white color, and run this. Oh, I still have something at 0. Yep, this one here. So let's go and run that, and then nothing changes to it. So that's where if you had something you want to apply a color to it, that's one way you could do it. So let's say, yep, we have that, it's pink. So if we were to do that, we can probably make the entire thing pink. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, yep, like I said, I'm trying to keep these episodes shorter. Well, we're going to call the episode right here. The next episode, we're going to probably start taking a look at applying matrices. I'm currently in the process of trying to get a whiteboard, or a dry erase board. As much as I really didn't want to have to do that, I think we don't need to know how matrix multiplication works, but it really does help to know what's going on under the hood. We're not going to implement any of that, like any of the dot product multiplication of the matrices by ourselves. We're just going to use OpenTK's mathematic libraries, but I think it's good to have that background. But at the same time, I figured this might be something I keep separate from the series, and it'll be just a video on its own, because it is optional. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.